Good morning, my fellow yogic travelers. I am mighty glad to be alive today. Nothing unusual about that, and I hope that you are too. So, today we're going to finish our talks on the Dharma tributaries of Buddhism. Today I'm going to give you a little information from Alan Watts, one of my favorite rascal philosophers, who at one time was actually a Episcopalian priest at the University of Northwestern. And one of his early books that was influential for me was Behold the Spirit, which was the first time I heard someone share esoteric Christianity, but linking it to the different kinds of Eastern philosophies that we've been discussing, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Taoism. So first, I want you to understand that it's important to realize how you approach the path. And to that end, I'm going to read a little excerpt from a book called The Way of Transformation by Karl Fried von Durkheim, a German Zen practitioner. And I'm going to change the pronoun, so that men, you can hear what it's like to have the feminine expressed instead of the masculine all the time. The woman who, really being on the way, falls upon hard times in the world will not, as a consequence, turn to that friend who offers her refuge and comfort and encourages her old self to survive. Rather, she will seek out someone who will faithfully and inexorably help her to risk herself so that she may endure the suffering and pass courageously through it, thus making of it a raft that leads to the far shore. Only to the extent that a woman exposes herself over and over again to annihilation can that which is indestructible arise within her. In this lies the dignity of daring. Thus, the aim of practice is not to develop an attitude which allows a woman to acquire a state of harmony and peace wherein nothing can ever trouble her. Really? Let me say that again. Thus, the aim of practice is not to develop an attitude which allows a woman to acquire a state of harmony and peace wherein nothing can ever trouble her. I thought that's what we were doing. On the contrary, practice should teach her to let herself be assaulted, perturbed, moved, insulted, broken, and battered. That is to say, it should enable her to dare to let go of her futile hankering after harmony, surcease from pain and a comfortable life, in order that she may discover, in doing battle with the forces that oppose her in the world of opposites. The first necessity is that we should have the courage to face life and to encounter all that is most perilous in the world. When this is possible, meditation itself becomes the means by which we accept and welcome the demons which arise from the unconscious. A process very different from the practice of concentration on some object as a protection against such forces. Only if we venture repeatedly through the zones of annihilation can our contact with divine being, which is beyond annihilation, become firm and stable. The more a woman learns wholeheartedly to confront the world that threatens her with isolation, the more the depths of the ground of being are revealed and the possibilities of new life and becoming open. Wow. Now, of course, that's in practice. That's why I say fail joyfully. But in life, it's a different kind of attitude. And when we look at how the idea of the Tao is the whole that covers the yin and yang. If you've ever seen that symbol of the sine curve, whether it's white and black or red and blue, but there's a little dot of one color in the midst of the other to indicate nothing is solely just itself. It's always an admixture. And so, for instance, the way the Tao looks at things is non-interference. The Tao is the way of nature, the way of life. And so it's so simple to look at some of these natural phenomena and then adjust your life accordingly. For instance, something like the tongue is soft, it stays your whole life. The teeth are hard and they fall out. So softness is the way of life and hardness is the way of death. And as you can see, in death there's no movement, in life there's expression. Death is a withdrawal, life is an extension. It's something, it's some action, doing. So here are some things that you might understand about your own relationship to life. And the first one, of course, is enough TV. Virtual reality. I mean, it's here to stay in some ways. We all indulge in it through the computer, through our cell phone, but it takes you away from a certain kind of direct experience. And so one of the things that you want to do is stop being so productive. Our idea is that the basic purpose of life is work, serious business, be real, be in earnest. And therein is why there's the lack of joy. It's as if we have to work in order to go on living. Yeah, sure, no work, no bread, they say in the Zen temple. But play is only justified as it tends to make you work more efficiently. That is the whole wrong way. Life is essentially playful, like art and music, and the point of which is the present unfolding, not to get through it. Like if the purpose of music was like get to the end, you'd play it faster and faster, right? But the idea is to be with it as it's unfolding. Unfortunately, many people make play a drag because they try to fit it in instead of having a life where they're in a relaxed way. And this is one of the toughest things to understand about the Taoist teaching, the teaching of Wu Wei, non-interference. Let nature take its course instead of trying to direct it, guide it. And they say, well, it'll just be total chaos. Really? Is nature completely chaos? I mean, there are chaotic aspects. There are tsunamis. There are earthquakes. There are catastrophes that way. But otherwise, it doesn't need our help to unfold, does it? And we're part of that. We come out of nature from within it. We don't come into nature from outside it. That's one of the things I never liked about the Genesis description of God blew the breath of life into the nostrils of the human being, as if life comes into us from outside, rather than we are produced from the inside of life, like a spider produces a web from inside itself, or as a seed produces the plant from inside itself. So it's really important to understand how to flow with life and not take things so seriously. And here's a couple of interesting ideas from the Tao. Because remember, that which is not of the Tao will not endure. The motion of the Tao is to return. The way of the Tao is to yield. They say it's like the sword master who is challenged by a young hothead to fight. He knew he could kill him in a second. So he says, all right, we're going to fight on that island out there. So they both get in the boat. They row out to the other island. And the sword master says, you go first. And the guy goes on land. The sword master pushes the boat away. All right? Yielding. Non-aggression. It's like when if you have two rowboats, and all of a sudden you see a rowboat is about to crash into yours. If there's nobody in the rowboat, you don't scream at the rowboat. Or if there was a person in the rowboat, you say, hey, you idiot, get out of the way. So they say, empty your boat and no one will oppose you. Wise students, when they hear of the Tao, they earnestly put it into practice. Average students think about it now and then. Foolish students think about it and they laugh out loud. And if it weren't for the laughter, the Tao would not be what it is. And you can't define it. If you could define it, it would be small and not great. So you learn to respond to the needs of other people as equally important as your own. And they tell you to just take it easy. If happiness isn't your destiny, there's no need to hurry. So remember in your speech, do not discuss the faults of others in your conversation. Keep your speech clean. And in terms of your own life actions, if there's something that you don't want anyone to know about it, don't do it. As it says in the Gospels, one day what happens in secret will be shouted from the housetops. Anyway, the idea is to have a life of peace and contentment. Don't rob yourself of clarity of mind, which is, once again, sit still in silence and allow things to unfold without clinging, condemning, or identifying with it. And then, in the end, you have to tell some kind of story that doesn't make sense seemingly to the left brain, but you got to figure it out. What the hell does that mean? So I love this story. This disciple is talking to the master and says, Master, is it true that everything has Buddha nature? Yes, the master says. The disciple says, so the dog has Buddha nature? Yes. And the tree has Buddha nature? Yes. And all beings have Buddha nature? Yes. That means I have Buddha nature too, right? No, you do not have Buddha nature. What? But you said that all things have Buddha nature. That is true. You said the dog has Buddha nature, and the tree has Buddha nature, and all people have the Buddha nature. Yes, that is true. Then how is it possible that I don't have Buddha nature? Because you asked this question.